Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky regular meeting, City Hall, May 6, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. We're going to begin tonight with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance, and I believe tonight is Melinda's. And so what we'll do is I'll lead us in a prayer, and then we'll go ahead and do the pledge of allegiance. If we begin. Dearly Father, we just thank you so much for this beautiful day you've given us. We thank you for the blessings to our community. We just thank you for our city employees, for our first responders, for those that answer the call, for those that serve others. And we're just so grateful for them. We pray for those and those that have been hurt by the recent storms as our community continues to forge forward. We just pray for tonight for the decisions we make. We pray for the leadership that's continued to lead for our city in the direction that we'll be hearing tonight, that we'll be advocating on behalf of our community. Thank you for the commissioners that are here, those that are afar. Just thank you so much, and bless this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. All right. Mrs. Jackson, this week is our clerk's week, so we thank you very much for our clerks and are proud of you, Hope Spiller, and the work you've accomplished. And if you would, begin with the roll call.
Commissioner Beasley Brown. Here. Commissioner Hill, absent. Commissioner Perigin, also absent. Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Mayor Alcott.
Here. Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Mr. Meisel, you have comments at this time.
Just a couple, Mayor. There will be need for a closed session. I'd like Ashley to read the reasons.
Pursuant to KRS 61810(1)B, for the purpose of deliberations on the future acquisition of real property by the city, as publicity would likely affect the value of the specific piece of property to be acquired by the city. And F, for discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee without restricting the employee's right to a public hearing if requested. This exception shall not be interpreted to permit discussion of general personnel matters in secret. Action may follow.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Dana Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Carlos Bailey. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes.
Thank you. That will follow the work session. And then if you are in the audience and want to make public comments, please sign the register in the back corner of the room. We'll take those up after the regular session. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Meisel. Our first item is approval of minutes, regular meeting, April 15th, 2025.
Second.
Moved by Bailey, second by Beasley Brown. Discussion? None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-98.
Municipal order approving the promotion of Brett Pitchford to the position of engineer in the fire department.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beasley Brown, second by Bailey. Mr. Meisel.
I'd like to call Chief Brooks up to make this recommendation. While he's coming up, I'd like to congratulate Caleb Halsey on his retirement and his years of service to the city, 20 years for the Bowling Green Fire Department. So congratulations to Caleb. Chief.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity and good evening. What the city manager said, last week we honored and celebrated the career of engineer Caleb Halsey, not only doing 20 years, but did a lengthy career in the military as well. But with one retirement comes a promotion opportunity for someone in the family. And the one we bring forth before you tonight has had a history of serving this city for a long time, not only as a police officer, but now as a firefighter. The one we bring forward to recommend a change in rank, responsibility, and role is Brett Pitchford. To go from firefighter to engineer comes with a bigger platform, one that he has shown over his career to be worthy of this promotion. But more importantly, he's earned the respect of his peers. So if you've got any questions, I'm here to answer those. Brett is here with his family tonight.
Brett, bring any family with you tonight?
Yes, sir.
Well, please introduce them if you would. Thank you.
Olivia, my kids, Brandon Bryce, my parents, Mark and Frida Pitchford, and my brother, Andy Pitchford.
Well, Brett, I think you've got your personal family, and I think you've got your work family here. So congratulations on this, promotion to captain. So congratulations to you. All right, we're going to make this official. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, congratulations, Brett. Municipal Order Number 2025-99.
Municipal order approving the promotions of Jenny McShane to the position of police captain and Devin Mitchell to the position of police sergeant in the police department.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beasley Brown, second by Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
As Chief Delaney comes up, I would like to congratulate Captain Michael Myrick for his retirement in the police department and his many, many years of service. So congratulations to Captain Myrick, who will create this domino effect that Chief will explain. Chief?
If you don't mind for everybody to get out. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to bring forward two candidates tonight. The first one I'd like to discuss is Devin Mitchell. Officer Mitchell has been with the police department since 2016. He started with us long before there as an explorer, then into the cadet program, and then as a police officer, but officially as a police officer in 2016. Since that time, he's become one of our PTOs, our police training officers, firearms instructor, crisis negotiator, and intricately involved in our department. So he's here tonight with some of his family, if you would like to introduce them.
This is my wife, Annie Mitchell. My son, mother-in-law, stepped out. He's not enjoying the meeting.
Nice. Thank you, Chief. Any discussion?
Jenny McShane next.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Jenny McShane started, she was actually born in Germany, then moved to Ireland and then Chicago, where she was raised. She started her law enforcement career as a part-time officer in Indiana, at the Indiana University. She has a bachelor's in chemistry, a master's in ergonomics, and she's currently working on her doctoral program in educational leadership. She's been with the police department since 2013. She's been through the Academy of Police Supervision, 3 levels of crisis negotiation. She's a Kentucky Law Enforcement Council instructor and holds certificates in DT, PT, firearms, driving, just to name a few, CIT. She also helped write our curriculum for our Bowling Green Law Enforcement Academy. So without any reservation, I recommend her for this promotion tonight.
Jenny here?
Yes, she's here with family also.
All right, you have family with you?
Yes, I have my husband here, and this little munchkin, this is Charlie. I have my mother-in-law, and I have my friend Alma here.
Fantastic. All right, Jenny and Devin, please stand up. We want to recognize you both. All right. Any further discussion? We're going to make this official. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, congratulations, Jenny. Congratulations, Devin. Proud of you both. Municipal Order Number 2025-100.
Municipal order approving the promotions of Ryan Burnham to the position of Deputy Police Chief, Eric Houchins to the position of Assistant Police Chief, and Todd Porter to the position of Police Captain in the Police Department.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
So we have this deputy chief, and his name is Josh Hughes, and I think he's actually sitting here in the
I saw him,
audience. He's decided he wants to retire, so anyway, congratulations, Deputy Chief Hughes, for all your many years of service to the city. We really appreciate all that you've done for us, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief for more announcements. Chief?
Again, thanks Deputy Chief Hughes for his 24 years of service to our city and to the department. He's done an outstanding job. With that, create some vacancies and a rippling effect. The first one I'd like to discuss is Sergeant Todd Porter. Sergeant Porter was raised in Butler County. He graduated high school in 1998, and right after that, in 1999, he joined the Kentucky Army National Guard, where he continues to serve. He's been serving for 26 years. He joined with his best friend at the time, Jan Tuttle, a retired police officer from Bowling Green, and they served together. Sergeant Porter, for us, is a sergeant, but in the military, he's a major. He's assigned as the commander of Kentucky Army National Guard Officer Candidate School, where he still serves. He has a Bachelor of Arts in History and Social Studies, a minor in Political Science, a Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership, another Master of Arts in Social Responsibility and Sustainable Communities. He's been through the Academy of Police Supervision, Criminal Justice Executive Development course. He was on our CRT, our SWAT team. He's been on Honor Guard for 20 years, and he still serves, and he's a firearms instructor. So I'd like to recommend Sergeant Porter for the promotion.
Todd, do you have family with you, or someone you'd like to introduce?
I've got my sisters here with me, my girlfriend Amanda, my mom and dad, my youngest son Cameron, and his girlfriend Sophie, who took her prom this weekend.
Congratulations, Todd.
Next, from Captain to Major, Eric Houchins. Eric Houchins has been with us since 2007. He's a Warren East graduate. He has a Bachelor of Physics from WKU. He's also a Kentucky Law Enforcement Council instructor. He's been through the Academy of Police Supervision, Criminal Justice Executive Development course. He was one of our SWAT commanders, and he holds several certificates for firearms, defensive tactics. He's a physical trainer, and he's just been a great asset to our police department. I'd like to recommend Captain Eric Houchins for promotion.
Eric, congratulations. Who do you have with you?
My wife Jessica, my daughter Emily.
All right, congratulations, Eric.
Last but not least, Major Ryan Burnham. He's been with us a long time. No, that's all right. Since Major Burnham's been with us, he's actually a graduate of Western Kentucky University. He holds a Bachelor of from WKU, and he's also been to Vincennes University for funeral services educator. He holds numerous instructor certificates, defensive tactics, less lethal. He's a bicycle instructor, a firearms instructor, a fitness instructor, a taser instructor. I could go on all night long. He can instruct anything. He's a graduate of Academy of Police Supervision, a graduate of Criminal Justice Executive Development Program, and he's also a graduate of Administrative Officers course that's held in Louisville. It's a 13-week course that's very strenuous. He has to be away from your family for 3 months. He completed that in 2022. He's a member of our Honor Guard. He's been a training officer. He was a CRT commander. The list goes on of his accomplishments, and I'm very proud and honored to be able to recommend him for promotion tonight. So he's here with family also.
Ryan, who do you have with you?
My daughter Brinley, my wife Dana, my mom Carmen, my mother-in-law Rita, and then the rest of the Burns family, the police department family.
Fantastic. Deputy Chief, fantastic. All right, would the three of you please stand up? Commissioners, we're going to make this happen? All right, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill. I'm so sorry. Bailey. Alcott.
Yes.
Yes.
Congratulations, Ryan, Eric, Todd. Well done.
Municipal Order Number 2025-101.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of Sashi Ramirez to the position of Communications Dispatcher 1 in the Police Department.
So moved.
Second?
Sorry. I can move it too, so just.
Apologies.
No, but we got a good rhythm tonight. Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel, or Ms. Jackson, sorry. No, Mr. Mizel.
Brandon.
I'm sorry.
We'll get there. We have a vacancy in our dispatch department and division, and I'd like Lori Gray, our HR manager for police, to come up and make the recommendation. Lori.
Good evening. Thank you all. So I'm here this evening to recommend Sashi Ramirez to be appointed to the position of Communications Dispatcher 1 in the Communications Division of the Police Department. And she is here with us. I'll just have her stand up. She is currently pursuing an associate's degree in accounting at South Central Kentucky Community and Technical College, and her most recent position was a hostess barista at Novo Doce. So if you let me know if you have any questions.
Glad you're here tonight. Sashi, do you have anyone with you? Fantastic. Well, welcome to the police team. Welcome to the dispatcher team. We hope you have a great career with us. All right, commissioners, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, congratulations, Sashi. Municipal order number 2025-102. Great night to celebrate in Bowling Green. Enjoy the evening.
Municipal order approving the year 22 annual action plan of the Consolidated Plan for Community Development Block Grant Entitlement and Home Investment Partnerships Program funding, and authorizing its submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
We are required to submit an annual action plan to show how we're going to allocate our CDBG funds and our home investment partnership program funding. And this is coming up for fiscal year 2026. We are estimated to get $700,000 for the CDBG and $350,000 for home. And we are proposing in your memo there, we're going to spend roughly $600,000 on street and sidewalk improvements in Census Block Group 102.4. That would include some sidewalk rehab and replacements, new sidewalks, some new greenways, and road improvements on Beauty Avenue. And then we're proposing to use $160,000 CDBG money for quality affordable housing, to rehab some affordable home ownership and rental units there. $700,000 of the home funding we would like to use for construction of some single-family and/or multifamily housing. And then in the park and neighborhood improvements, we're going to allocate $300,000 for improvements in the Delafield neighborhood in that census block. Last couple items there are your admin and fair housing. We'd like to allocate $42,000 to Human Rights Commission for their work on local housing and outreach and housing issues. And then finally, keep $98,000 for admin. There was a public hearing held on April 3rd to meet requirements there, and everything is good to go. And I think Jake Moore is here. I can answer your question on this one, as well as Nick Cook. But we believe this is all tidied up and ready to be approved.
Mizel, questions at this time?
I know the Delafield community is really excited about these projects. I wasn't sure if we had any more specific timeline or specifics we could share with them.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Good to see you all. Currently in progress is a greenway and sidewalk project along Church Street. That is already all the way down Church Street. We drove by it a couple days ago. That should be wrapped up by the end of spring, early summer. Additionally, once that's finished, we're going to be working on another sidewalk project in that census tract, the Delafield neighborhood. That will run sidewalk along Pearl Street, correct? Jackson Street. So two separate greenway and sidewalk projects in the Delafield neighborhood. So that's currently what we're working on there. Also coming up, we have the Neighborhood Improvements Program, where folks can go through Live the Dream to receive funds to improve their exterior of their properties in that neighborhood, that census tract. But the most impactful project right now is that Greenway project. It's going to connect Hobson Grove Park to downtown. That was our vision, just so there's kind of a way to get from the Delafield neighborhood to downtown. So that's what we got planned with that project.
I have one more follow-up question. I apologize. So I know we have funding allotments for housing and park improvements. Is there a specific number of units we think we're going to be able to provide for affordable housing?
So not at this moment. We put down an estimate each year just so we are allowed to then spend that money on those units. Nick, we don't have any hard numbers at this moment, do we? Yeah, we're still waiting on bids on our other sidewalk project, and at this time we don't have a number for the affordable housing units. We're also working on 2 housing projects, affordable housing projects. Really, it's one project with Live the Dream and Habitat. They're building a handful of duplexes in the Durbin Estates neighborhood and along Old Barren River Road. So there is affordable housing in the works, and that's something that we are focused on, but can't give a specific number of the units right now.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
No further questions? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-103.
Municipal order adopting the 2025 Barren River Area Development District Title VI Implementation Plan Update for the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
You all may recall, last year we were informed by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet that we had to have a Title VI program in place, and the easiest way to do that was to adopt the BRAD's Title VI program. And so we have to just annually recognize that, and what's before you tonight is for you all to approve the adoption of the BRAD's Title VI program to comply with the Transportation Cabinet's requirements. So ask for your approval on this one.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mizel. Questions at this time? None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-104.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application for grant funding through the Kentucky Attorney General Body Armor Grant Program for the purchase of body armor for the Bowling Green Police Department in the amount of $104,411.65.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
This is a really good grant. There's no match required. It's through the Office of Attorney General Kentucky Body Armor Grant. This could get us 2 ballistic shields for our critical response team. That would be around $45,000. We could also get 10 helmets and 10 helmets for CRT, and then 55 helmets for current officers, new hires, Police Academy members. That would total roughly $58,000 to get us close to that 104 number. So recommend your approval to submit this grant that requires 0 match. And Jake's here, can answer any question on this one. Chief Delaney can answer any tactical questions on this one as well.
Questions at this time? None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-105.
Municipal order authorizing renewal of bid number 2023-48 for fire department equipment from various vendors in the total amount not to exceed $200,000.
So moved.
Second.
Brown, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
So each year, the fire department needs safety items, equipment, different things, and so several years ago we came up with this plan to go out and select the vendors that we use, and then have them provide us with a discounted price on all the different items that they need. We have an option to renew that from last year, and that's what we are wanting to do this year. Renew with these vendors. All but 2 have said they would honor the same discount pricing, and so here we are requesting that you approve that before you tonight. So Deputy Chief Morris is here with us and can answer any of your questions you might have on this, but these are the vendors that we use for different equipment, and all but two have locked in their same discount.
Deputy Moore. Questions this time, commissioners? None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-106.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting the purchase of various Rainbird irrigation supplies for Hobson Golf Course irrigation project through a sole source from Site One Landscape Supply in an amount not to exceed $119,000.
Move.
Second.
Self, second by Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
We have been working on Hobson Grove irrigation in-house for a couple years now, thanks to Brent's teams. They are getting really close, and we are ready to purchase this here from the company sole source purchase from Site One to help finish up that project. We think we're going to need roughly $119 for this, and recommend your approval. Brent Belcher's here, can answer any of your questions on this project. But this would finish off the project at Hobson Grove.
Here, commissioners, questions? All right, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-107.
Municipal order authorizing change order number 3 to the contract with Scott and Ritter, Inc. for demolition and sinkhole repair services in the amount of $900,000 for a total project cost of $1,285,286.58.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner.
As you all know, it's been the year of the sinkhole. I hate to say it, but it's been bad. And we originally have a contract. Most typical years, we put $100,000 in the budget, and we think that was going to cover most of our problems that pop up during the year. But this year was different, this fiscal year, especially starting last fall. We had the sinkhole out on Singletree that was very costly. Fortunately, we had a grant to come in on that one to help us. But we have slowly had to increase this contract with Scott and Ritter. This is our third change order that we're coming to you with, but we really have to do it. We have no choice. We're looking at another $1 million, most likely, in the recent sinkholes that have popped up from the recent rain in early April. So we are asking for you tonight to approve change order number 3, $900,000 that would get the total contract amount that we could spend to $1,285,286 with Scott and Ritter. Andy's here, can answer your questions. Matt Powell's here. Nick Lawhon is here. They've been out and doing a lot of the work. Nick has seen every sinkhole out there in 50 different ways probably, and there's been some bad ones. So I ask for your approval to go ahead and up this contract with this hopefully last change order number 3. We do have the money in reserves that we can put toward this, and we think we can cover it, but we just need your permission to spend this last piece of $900,000 and up the contract to $1.2 million.
Thanks, Mr. Mizel. Andy, I'm going to have you pop up this podium. Your team has been some of the busiest people don't understand in Warren County in the last, I'll say 60-plus days, 90 days on sinkhole mitigation, but it's been beyond that, and I just want to say thank you to you and your team and give you an opportunity to kind of give us just kind of a bird's eye view to our community of what has happened and transpired in this effort and some of the efforts for which I know we're going to talk about stormwater, but this is a good tee up for what we're getting ready to discuss in a minute.
Sir, well, thank you all. The team has been amazing. Nick and everyone in stormwater just really going the upth degree to really get to us. Over 30 sinkholes is what we're tracking right now, including the newest one on East 3rd and Chestnut as of yesterday. So I'll turn it over to Nick, the city's geologist, to give you just where we're at based on this is unprecedented. This is the most amount we've ever come back for on a change order for sinkholes. Just a lot going on. The city is safe. I'll leave you with that, and I'll turn it over to Nick.
Andy. Thank you, Andy. So where we are currently is that we have Scott and Ritter actively working on a total of 3 sinkholes at the moment. We've got another 6 that we will be requesting they repair under the contract that exceed our internal capabilities. Essentially things that involve either substantial utility conflicts or that involve excavation requiring a machine larger than what we call a mini excavator, which is the kind that we have in-house. One of the larger Scott and Ritter excavators, those things will reach 23 or more feet in one scoop. So, when we need those larger pieces of equipment, we have to go out of house for that. The current sinkholes that we are repairing right now are on Normandy Way. We're very near done with that. There's just some concrete work and paving work to wrap that one up. Its current price tag is $102,000. I checked with Gavin Houchins at Scott and Ritter this morning, and the one at the soccer complex is up to $52,000 as of last Sunday. That's the Lovers Lane, correct?
Yes, sir, Lovers Lane Soccer Complex. And that one still has a substantial amount of rock that needs to go in, and we are exploring one more throat that's opened up during the course of the excavation that may tap into a substantial cave. And then we also have them digging out one in 1729 Sherwood's backyard. There's a drainage basin in the backyard of several homes at that location. It's currently about 40 feet deep. We're in the excavation phase with it. And there are another 6 that we will have on the docket for Scott and Ritter, and then the rest of the ones that are our responsibility to repair, we will be looking to our operations division to repair.
How did Singletree hold up during this last, the big storm that we had?
Like a champ.
Wow.
So we haven't seen hardly any fallout. There's been some settling of soil, which is expected anytime you put down bare soil on a site. We are still waiting on sod for that. I've got a call in for an order from Iron Bridge to sod that side that has been dug up twice, and to make sure that we're getting water into the grate rather than having it go down beside the structure or something. And that's that from what we've seen, very little, if any, erosion at those sites.
I know we'll talk more about stormwater in a minute and the assessments that y'all have been accomplishing on behalf of the damage and surveyed, and we know, just an update, that the governor added Warren County to the proclamation that was sent to the president. We feel optimistic that it'll get the FEMA declaration, because I heard the first hurdle was getting, and now it's semantics of whether, adding, all the information that's needed on that, which included all the state, but we're grateful for that is in play at this minute. And thank you so much for you, your team. I know Matt back there, immense amount of work has gone into this mitigation, so thank you.
And I'd like to echo that. I'm not sure what her name was, so please forgive me if she's listening today. But I spoke with her, and she talked about the first sinkhole that opened up. And I kind of want to echo what the mayor has said. She said her daughter was coming outside. I guess she was getting ready for the next school day. And when she was getting ready, she was like, her daughter ran back in immediately and was talking about how big that sinkhole was. She talked about how well and how professional Nick, Matt, Andy, all the workers that was at Public Works has been. And she really, really appreciated you guys being there. And just being able to hear that, she was like, they have just been 100% excellent and stuff. It shows how hard our city workers work. So I just want to say, kind of echo what the mayor has said. Thank you guys for just doing everything you guys are doing. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I just also want to thank you all. And just if there's anyone who's concerned about a particular spot on their property, what should they do?
So if somebody's concerned about a low area or an area that is subsiding on their property, we can be reached at the front desk, or you can go through City Central 393-3000 and just say you've got a sinkhole. We also have on the city website where you can request service. There is a
place for you to request service for a sinkhole. So that will get an email response emailed to me or Matt or somebody for us to go out and take a look at it as a service ticket. So either give us a call or drop us a line through the ticket information on the website.
Thank you all so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on 2025-107? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill. I keep doing that, and I'm so sorry. It is very much ticked in my brain. Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. I can only understand you've read it thousands of times, and now you're changing it. Municipal Order 2025-108.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting a proposal from Strand Associates, Inc. related to the request for qualifications for professional services for storm sewer replacement, repair, and rehabilitation project, RFQ 2025-22, in an amount not to exceed $850,000.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
So as you all will recall, we did get a $3.8 million grant for some stormwater work recently, and we have targeted roughly 5 projects that we feel like we need to address. Chestnut Street from the 5th Street to the bypass, Elm Street and 10th Street, that corner there that kind of floods every time it rains. Then we got the College Street, Park Row, East Main, Fountain Square area, and then you've got 2100 block of Creason, and then Whiskey Run at Clay Street. So we're looking for a qualified engineering firm to help us design solutions for this, and there were 8 firms that submitted from the RFQ, request for qualifications. 2 rounds of evaluations were conducted. Public Works team narrowed that down to 2 firms and have selected Strand Associates Incorporated as the best firm to perform this work for us, and we're recommending contract with Strand. After we selected them as the best, our team went and negotiated a price not to exceed $850,000 to do design work on these 5 projects. And Matt's here, can answer any questions, Andy and Nick, but we think this is a really good firm that will do good work for us and provide some solutions. Ask for your approval.
Mr. Mizel.
Yes, sir.
Strand is also the firm that's helping us build up the riverfront. So wouldn't it also be, they kind of know our, I guess, the landscape and kind of know Bowling Green?
They are part of that. Thank you, Commissioner. They're very familiar with Bowling Green and we've done some work with them before, so but we feel very comfortable. Matt.
Yeah, they're a subsidiary to MKSK Design, doing the civil work for the riverfront. Most of the firms that we met through this process had some local connections. Through an evaluation of total cost, total capacity, total ability to work on what we were looking for, we felt like Strand brought the most in order to be able to come after both the grant for Chestnut Street and this year's capital infrastructure investment, which is about $1.5 million.
Thank you.
So this is a grant, and this is for design, or it's 2 separate things?
Yeah, this is for one stormwater engineering firm to design multiple projects.
Got it.
One of which is Chestnut Street, which is covered by a grant. The remainder are covered under the $1.5 million infrastructure improvement funds dedicated for FY25.
Okay, so then in terms of this design, so what's the timeline in terms of years that we might see this completed?
We should be under construction within the year.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So potentially by next spring?
One of the things that we were looking at was just the expediency. How fast can we get to a point where we're working? So yes, we anticipate being in construction in a year.
All 5 be going at the same time, or do you?
Will be overlap between all the projects, but no, I don't anticipate that all 5 will actually overlap with one another. They're in ranked order on your memo that's in your packet as to how quickly we expect to get to them. And yeah, we do anticipate having the first of them under construction within the year. And I imagine they'll all be under construction within 2 years.
And then what are the issues that you're hoping to solve downtown that we should see after the completion of this?
So a lot of issues. Chestnut Street is the one that we talked about a year ago that has about 900 feet of the pipe, has a structural defect that roughly 70% of that pipe's capacity is unable to be used. So you see issues with water not leaving the street quickly enough, you see intersection flooding, that sort of thing. We'll be able to correct all of that, and we're hoping to future-proof as well. So if we're going to undertake a project that's going to be this disruptive, we want to make sure that we don't have to undertake a project in that area again for a very long time. So we're going to install the maximum amount of stormwater capacity that we can for that. With Elm at 10th, we do have some aging infrastructure that's beginning to collapse. That's visible at the surface, so that's going to be urgent that we get that repaired before we do see, impediments to us being able to move about the community if that does happen to cave in. College Street, we do have issues with water making it into that existing storm sewer system, so that won't be a whole dig and replace. That's going to be improvements at various locations around the square so that water can find its way into that subterranean system more quickly. Creason Street is a similar kind of an issue. The railroad tracks block water from being able to continue on over toward Russellville Road, which causes Creason to flood at various locations around the 2100 block, and so we're going to try to get that solved. Whiskey Run at Clay, I'm sure you guys will see me in this room again. That is going to be a very extensive repair, and it's going to involve multiple agencies to get that done.
Just so we're tracking, the grant only accomplishes Chestnut to the 31W or 5th Street, so that, not the other 4 projects.
And we're accounting for them separately within this. So we've got 2 sources of funding. One is a grant, one is our general fund. We're going to use one stormwater design firm because it's all similar work. This saves us from having to go to bid 5 times for 5 designers and then 5 constructors. So we're able to achieve some economy of scale by hiring the one design firm. We'll use task orders to keep all of the accounting completely separate, so the grant will be kept completely separate from what we're accomplishing through the general fund.
Thank you, Matt. Great. Another tee up for our discussion.
Absolutely.
All right, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-109.
Municipal order authorizing and approving the termination of the St. Joseph Cemetery agreement with St. Joseph Cemetery Foundation, Inc.
Move.
Second.
Second by Brown. Mr. Mizel.
Since 2011, City Parks and Rec Cemetery Division has been providing opening and closing grave services for St. Joseph Foundation Cemetery. It's out in the back part of behind Kiriakis Park. And so in the agreement, there is a 180-day written termination notice clause that we would have to give them. Brent and Kathy, I believe, have had conversations with St. Joe, and they are willing to take back on providing this service. And so we are proposing to give our 180-day notice, and St. Joe would assume responsibilities for their mausoleum lift, the transfer of lift, and take place on end of December of this year, December 25, and they would begin the opening and closing services of their own graves starting January 1 of 2026. And so we have had a great partnership with them. It's worked very well, but we feel it's a good time to hand this back over to them and let them manage and take care of the St. Joe Cemetery there behind Kiriakis. And Brent Belcher's here, can answer any questions, add any more information, Brent, if you choose, that I've left out. But recommend approval of giving notice to St. Joseph Foundation, the 180-day notice.
Mr. Mizel? Questions at this time, commissioners? Okay, none. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2025-110.
Municipal order approving the reappointments of Leda Becker and Alex Downing to the University District Review Committee.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Bailey. Both these members have served phenomenally. One has to be a city appointment, and that's Leda. Alex has very close ties to the university and has to continue on this, and I recommend them both for their continuation. Okay, further questions? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2025-5, second reading binding.
Ordinance annexing property by consent. Ordinance annexing a total of approximately 5.0269 acres of property located at 5165 Scottsville Road, presently owned by Greenwood Baptist Church of Bowling Green, Kentucky, Inc., with said territory being contiguous to existing city limits.
Second.
By Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Dana Beasley Brown. This was a 5-0 at the last commission meeting. Request from the Greenwood Baptist to annex into Bowling Green. And any further discussion? None? All right. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2025-6, second reading binding.
Ordinance relating to budget amendment. Ordinance approving amendment number 3 to the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Was a 5-0 unanimous, requires a second reading. Any further discussion? None. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue. This will be our third session for stormwater utility and fee in lieu of construction, FELOCs. Do we need a break or anything? Or can we just roll in? We've done pretty good on time. And then after that, we will go to closed session. And I think we'll have to come back maybe after that closed session for open session. And then our next scheduled meeting be May 20th, 2025. And we'll have, after this session, we will have, if we have any public comments. Thank you, everybody. All right. Nick, are you going to begin tonight?
I'm just going to give a little introduction for Dr. Campbell, who will be leading off speaking. So we've got Dr. Warren Campbell from the Civil Engineering Department at Western Kentucky University, who's going to kind of lead off with some information on stormwater financing structures. And Dr. Campbell is, generally speaking, the eminent expert on these things, both in the region and nationwide. He publishes an annual stormwater utility survey. He's documented over 2,000 stormwater utilities nationwide through that. It's been a big focus of his research in the past decade and a half. I'm going to stop talking and let him start.
All right.
So, Dr. Campbell, if you'd like to
Dr.
come up.
Campbell, welcome. Come on up to the podium. I think they appreciate you being here tonight, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I want to preface my remarks by saying that I am in strong support of forming a stormwater utility, and I live in Bowling Green, so I'll be paying it. So I just wanted to let you know that I was not being hypocritical in all of this. So what I want to talk to you today about is why stormwater utilities are the best way to go to finance your stormwater program. And there are many reasons for that, and I'm going to go through some of them. I'm going to talk about alternate ways of financing stormwater and explain why stormwater utilities are the fairest and can be very fair, but they can also be unfair if you don't set them up right. But I think you're heading in the right direction. So I have a colleague in the floodplain organization, and he says if you're just looking for grants from FEMA, you're not serious about mitigation. You got to have some skin in the game, and particularly he was talking about stormwater utilities, because it does take some political will to be able to, and that's the one disadvantage, and I'll talk about that. Now, general fund, you all know about. It's funded through sales tax, property tax, income tax, but you have to compete with putting police on the street, repairing sinkholes and stuff like that. Maricopa County, Arizona, which is Phoenix County, they do the stormwater financing through an addition to their property tax. Clark County, Nevada, which is Las Vegas, does it through a sales tax. And then we have stormwater utilities, which is the best of the four. So Maricopa County, the advantage is they can adjust their assessment each year to maintain the amount that they need. Problem is they have to go before folks like you and get it approved every time. The disadvantage is it's an ad valorem tax. In fact, all three of those are basically ad valorem that are not stormwater utilities. General fund, income tax, sales tax, it's ad valorem. And the ad valorem tax is not connected in any reasonable fashion with the service rendered. So non-ad valorem is the way to go if you want to be fair. Clark County, now this is interesting. They attached their stormwater funding to a sales tax, and it passed 2-1. So why not let all the gamblers that come to Vegas pay for their stormwater program? So it's really great, but the problem is you don't have a consistent amount of funding. So prior to the mortgage bubble in 2008, they were bringing in about $90 million a year. Then it went down to $60 million a year, so they lost 1/3 of the funding that they would normally have. So it goes up and down with the local economy. Again, it's an ad valorem tax, so there's no connection between the funds raised and the service provided.
And I'm just, stop, we don't even have the ability to add a sales tax. The state will not allow us, and that's not within our realm or means, even if we wanted to have an additional sales tax.
I'm not recommending this,
Right.
but thank you.
Yes, sir.
And then we have stormwater utilities, and you can do them very simple or very complex. Simple is flat fee. Everybody in every parcel in town, you pay one set fee. Totally unfair. The other end of the spectrum is somewhere where like Aurora, Colorado. They have figured out the impervious area on every single parcel in town. This is a town of 130,000 people, and they charge according to that. So the fee is different for everybody there. The ERU is a compromise between absolute fairness and absolute unfairness and complexity. So stormwater utilities, ERUs are a good way to go. By the way, the ERU is the most popular fee method. I just wanted to remind us that there are some issues here in Bowling Green with flooding. I'm not a good person. One of my hobbies was to go over to McDonald's at Fairview Plaza every time we had a thunderstorm. At least I got to the point where if somebody looked at me before driving through, I'd say, don't do it. But anyway, I love this picture and our fine folks from the fire department there doing the rescue. Unitarian Church has flooded 3 times since 2010. They had something like $90,000 of damage in 2010, but they had not installed their elevator yet. Then in 2021, it flooded again, barely overtopped their little levee that they built. They had $190,000 in damage. There's no telling how much you're going to have this time because the flooding is worse. But just a reminder, here's something that I didn't realize until I started looking at the numbers. Kentucky is #1 in this country among the states in per capita deaths. Since 2010, about 1 in 37,000 Kentuckians have died in flooding. So we're up there. So, but, you know, we saw some bad flooding last week, but how bad can it get? Look at Holt, Missouri. Holt, Missouri is right outside of Kansas City. In 1947, they got 12 inches of rain in 42 minutes. And I've done calculations. In 1998, when we had the big hailstorm flood, I estimated there were about 400 cubic feet per second going across Nashville Road. Now, to give you an idea what that is, one resident told me you could go whitewater kayaking on Oak Lawn, which is a little road that feeds into it. So 400 cubic feet per second. If we got the Holt, Missouri flood, I calculate to be 3,000 cubic feet per second. It would erode the road all the way through the asphalt, all the way to the subgrade, and you have a little mini canyon on Nashville Road. So it can get worse. That's not the worst we're going to see. Here are communities map of the communities in the United States that have formed stormwater utilities. And, you know, I was asked a question by EPA Region 1, why is it that stormwater utilities form easily in some states and not so easily in others? Well, the first thing that occurred to me was maybe it's politics, but I looked into it, it's not that. If you look at it, there are actually more states that are red leaning, Republican leaning, that have more than 100 stormwater utilities than blue leaning or Democrat leaning states. Florida, Texas, Ohio, Indiana, are all, and Iowa, all have more than 100 stormwater utilities. So it's not politics. Another reminder, here's Nashville Road just a couple of weeks ago. So here are some statistics. The average U.S. single-family monthly fee for a stormwater utility is $6.19. The median is $5. In Kentucky, we have 15 stormwater utilities, and the average monthly fee is about $4.07. Just to give you a little bit of the background. I think you're aware of the fact that we have some very strange, unique drainage problems here in Bowling Green because, you know, the Unitarian Church doesn't flood from what runs off the surface. It floods from that 50 square mile watershed of Lost River Cave. It floods from below. And normally it floods after the rain has stopped. In 2010, it was 2 days after the rain stopped under completely blue sky when the maximum flooding occurred. So this is a very unique place. It requires a very sustained solution to be able to do it. Now, these numbers have changed a little bit because I have immersed myself in ChatGPT and it's helping me with my survey. But just for your information, about half of all stormwater fee systems in the United States are equivalent residential unit, which is, I think, what the staff is proposing here. Next most popular is flat fee, but again, totally unfair when you do it that way. Water meters, that's another one. The size of the water meter, in some places they do it that way. My favorite is parking spaces. To me, that looks like a way that you can get guys not to make a parking space 6 inches wider than your car. You know, you widen them out a little bit. But I only know of one. It's up in Oregon. Now, stormwater professionals are aware of the hydrologic cycle. When it's been a while since the last flood, people get complacent. You know, this flood mitigation you're proposing really costs a lot of money. Do we really need it? And then you get the big flood, and the same people are screaming at you saying, you've known about this problem forever and you've done nothing about it. And then you have that little period of time when you can actually do something. Right now is that time. This flooding is fresh on people's minds, and I strongly recommend that you really give serious consideration about passing a stormwater utility. So, stormwater utilities are fair, they're non-ad valorem, they're based on the level of service that you're going to provide, so you can make the fee fair. My recommendation is hire experts. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about companies that do stormwater utilities around the country. There's one that every stormwater utility it's ever set up has never been successfully challenged in court, and a number of them are challenged in court. So put teeth in your ordinance. Don't do it like Warren County, Kentucky, where they said, if you don't pay your fee, we can take you to court. Well, last I heard, they still had people that hadn't paid the fee, and it was formed in 2007, I think. So better example is Garden City, Georgia. The Attorney General of Georgia wrote an opinion that the State Department of Agriculture interpreted to mean that they didn't have to pay a stormwater fee. So they wrote a letter to the city of Garden City and said, in accordance with the Attorney General's opinion, we're not going to pay our stormwater fee. And the city shot back, well, in accordance with our ordinance, we're going to turn off your water and power. They opted to pay the fee. So anyway, last thing I want to say is now's the time to act, when it's fresh in everybody's mind.
Can you
And-
state what would happen if we didn't act?
Oh,
Your hypothesis?
well, there's so many things that you can do with the stormwater utility that you can't do without it. In Kentucky, 2/3 of the people that have died in their cars. Outreach is one thing you can do. Don't turn around, don't drown. But just saying turn around, don't drown is not going to do it. Putting up signs is not going to do it. Let me go back. Yep. Anyway, that picture of the guy, it's got the sign that says impassable in high water, and then it's got a pole that's showing the water depth's almost 4 feet. So signs won't do it. You got to have a multimedia campaign. You can do that. You can do buyouts for repetitive loss properties. You can do all sorts of things with stormwater utility, but you need to fund it adequately. And, you know, I know the staff's talked to you about all of the problems with storm sewers in town. In Alabama, I was a city hydrologist for Huntsville, and we would not allow anybody to use corrugated metal pipe because it corrodes and fails in fairly, short time relative to reinforced concrete pipe. It was something the city of Huntsville had to maintain. It had to be reinforced concrete pipe, which will last 50 years if you install it right, and 100 years in some cases. So a lot of stuff you can do. And, your capital improvement projects, you can get those done quicker. If you don't pass it, what happens is your staff prioritize the most important things, and it extends the period of time when you are going to actually get your, capital improvement projects finished. So all of that gets slow walked, and things don't happen as quickly.
Professor Campbell, thank you for being here, and thank you for offering your expertise on this. And speaking with staff, I know like in 2006, I know like the city at one point was looking at possibly passing it, but they didn't because they was waiting on the county. And then the year later, the county ended up passing it in 2007, and the city never came back to visit it. I was at WKU in 1998, so I was a kid back then, but I remember people jumping off the bridge in Egypt because it was flooded so bad, and cars were still there, and they were actually swimming in the Egypt while cars were there, so it was dangerous. I would like to ask, number one, if we do have a stormwater utility, should we have a sunset, number one? Should it be a time that it should end? We shouldn't have it like continue. Second, I know the county actually has a $4, I believe, a fee, but
$4 and then 11 for commercial, non-residential properties, 10 or 11, I can't remember which. Yes.
how much do they actually collect? Because I do know that it's being with their water system.
I don't know. You'd have to ask stormwater people. I think at one time they had a bank of over $1 million. But I think, it's like $1 million a year. If you think about it, you figure out how many ERUs you've got in town, and you multiply that by your fee. You're talking about a $4 fee. And, some people will oppose you. But, when we're talking about a lot less than the cost of a glass of wine in a restaurant a month. So it's not that much, but it raises millions of dollars. So there's a lot you can do. And particularly since we've had all this flooding and sinkholes and all of that are opening up, I think it's something that really needs to happen.
My last two questions is basically how would you make it fair? Because you're talking about a glass of wine. There's probably some families that they probably can't pay the bill that they're paying right now. So that's my third question. And the very last one, you talked about basically the barriers. You said it's coming from from underground. Is some of those areas that are flooding, if we put a barrier and they had like natural barrier, like a tree or something like that, would that solve the problem? Those are my last questions.
Okay. Remind me your first question.
My first question would basically to make it fair. Like
Yeah.
families may not be able to
A lot
pay
of
it.
times you put residential tiers because, in Huntsville, we had this guy that had a 39,000 square foot home. And then you have guys that have a 500 square foot bungalow. And how is it fair that they would be paying the same amount? So a lot of communities have like 3 tiers. So they have the low tier and they may be paying half of what the other folks pay. And then the people that have a large tier may be paying double what the average home pays. So that's one thing to do. I want to take a moment to talk about ad valorem versus non-ad valorem. If you take a 5-acre parcel, maybe you can build a parking lot for $1 million. You take that same parcel and build a 100-story building for maybe $1 billion. They both produce the same volume of runoff, but one of them's going to be paying $1,000 more than the other one for the same service. So how is that fair? Even though you might say the $1 billion property could afford more, but anyway, non-ad valorem is the way to go. Now, go back to your second question. Say that, repeat it again.
The second question is like, you mentioned the church, and I think we had a picture of the church, and you talked about like some of the flooding actually rises from the water.
Oh, yeah, right.
So is there a way, is all the flooding rising up from the land? And there's some of them that we could solve by putting like some type of structure or fixture there to stop it?
I think Nick will tell you that we can't block it or divert it because a cave is a natural storm system that we can't maintain. A lot of the cave system you can't get into. Lost River, there's a collapse over Big Bertha right behind all of that, and there's parts of it we can't get into. Sullivan Cave right by the church you can get into, which is part of the trunk passage, the big passage in the cave, so it floods from below. In the case of the church, I actually have an idea for a solution for them, and I'm working with them. In Europe, they have these systems. They install these poles, slotted poles, all along a river, and they have the shops that have these panels they store. So when they know flooding is coming, and that Unitarian Church will know, because it takes a day or two for it to get there, you go out and you can install the panels in about 5 minutes. So, basically put a flood wall up to prevent the water from getting in there, and then you put a sump pump behind it to get the water that comes. Anyway, that is a way that you could solve their problem, I believe.
I appreciate you answering that. And I guess my final question was a sunset. Do you think that?
Oh, yeah. I would not recommend sunsetting the stormwater utility. Sometimes what people do, some of them do sunset it. What they will do is they will lower the fee. But if you completely cancel it out, and then you have some other big issue in a year when you got 30 sinkholes that form in the city infrastructure, then you're stuck and you have to go back through the same process again and reenact it. But what you can do is you can lower the fee. That's one way to go about it. I wouldn't recommend that either. You need to have the money available when you need it, and sunsetting it is not something that I would recommend. And I really wouldn't recommend completely doing away with it, because then you got to go through that same political difficulty. And I mean, if you do it, you're gonna have to deal with the fallout from that. And so if you pass that on to somebody else, if you repeal it, then you got to go through this whole process again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks for the
Dr. Campbell.
opportunity.
Appreciate Dr. Campbell coming in to kind of add to what we had to talk about tonight. You guys hear from me so much. We felt like it was really important that once in a while you heard from who we learned it from. So I didn't have him myself as a professor, but I've been around his work, particularly the National Stormwater Utility Survey that he does every year. So quickly wanted to run back through what brought us here, where we're going. You have one thing in your packet that is a brief reiteration of all of the meetings, discussions, and tours that we've had so far this year, put together by Mr. Souza. You can always tell because he is officially our graphics person now, and he does a fantastic job with that. On the back of that is some of the issues with our April 2025 sinkholes, and then the much more cut and dry, small frequently asked questions cut sheet that you all have there is something that I prepared. But briefly, to reiterate what we're proposing, it's a $4 per month fee attached to water bills for single-family residential homes throughout the city of Bowling Green. For those homes that are multifamily, which includes apartments, trailer homes, mobile home communities, duplexes, those sorts of things, that fee is reduced to $2 per water meter. For commercial users, it is $4 times their equivalent residential unit. You heard Dr. Campbell mention that again, but basically however many times larger than the average residential home, that's how their fee will be calculated. All of those things go in conjunction with the fee in lieu of construction. That fee in lieu of construction is set at $10,500 per acre for commercial projects. A quick update to some of the things that we've mentioned so far with the FELOC. I have an extraordinarily long waiting list. I have numerous projects at this point that just in the last several weeks have approached us and said, we're going to wait and see what happens with your program because we don't want to move forward without integrating the FELOC if it's available to us. And we have 2 projects that are finding significant economic hardship to meet the existing standard, and they're hoping to be able to participate in the FELOC as well. One of those is a project that we are tangentially involved with, which is the construction of Freeport Road. So there's a list of folks that are waiting to get in with the FELOC, which I don't think is necessarily true of most of the time when we're getting ready to pass new legislation. If you look down toward the bottom of the stormwater utility program, we talk about some of the things that we're going to be able to absorb, which is our existing MS4 permit, our sinkhole repairs, all those sorts of things. Stormwater mitigation program would all transition over to the utility. On the second page, we've taken the opportunity to answer some of the questions that you all had. A couple of the biggest ones. Mr. Mayor, last time you asked, what is the total liability of our existing infrastructure deficiencies? And essentially you said, think big, let's figure out how we would do this. Well, there isn't a good way to do it without a visual inspection. So we reached out to the best visual inspection company that we know, who let us know that the total cost would be about $1.875 million and that process would take about 7 years. Of course, we could bring in multiple visual inspectors.
Repeat that again, slow down.
So that total cost to see what our existing liability is, to examine the whole system and say how many things are broken and how many things are critically broken and how long will it take to fix them and how much will it cost. The inspection alone will take 7 years and cost $1.875 million. That's when we spoke with some of you all individually, one of the questions that I had regarding that was, could we bring in multiple firms and shorten that time span? I'm certain that we could. We'd have multiple contracts going at once. I'm sure our costs would go up, but we could come after that a little bit more quickly. That's why we want to look at this thing programmatically. That's why we want to say, here is the annual income that the utility is going to generate. Here are the things that we can accomplish. While we are accomplishing these 5 greatest needs, we're evaluating what we can of the system to determine what the next 5 greatest needs are, and we move through that system. Unfortunately, April of 2025, our weather has shown us where our top 25 greatest needs are. So we have that process in front of us for quite a while. Some of the other questions that we looked for was, what is the total annual expected revenue? We also have to answer the question of how many ERUs, or equivalent residential units, are out there. That is data that can be derived from the aerial photography that we already have from the aerial data. However, there's about $40,000 to $45,000 worth of costs into breaking that data down so that it is accurate enough for us to be billing from, and breaking it out by individual parcels. So from what we know and what we're confident in, we're going to say that we're confident the utility will generate in excess of $4 million per year to generate, or to go toward the projects that we discussed. Dr. Campbell mentioned it, we mentioned it as well. We will do our utmost to make sure that we make the public aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why we feel that it's necessary, why we feel it's a good thing for the community, not a burden for the community. One of the other things that you folks asked is once a parcel participates in the FELOC, can they ever be charged the FELOC once again? And the answer to that question is only if there's a significant change in the property, that essentially whatever they've built that they paid a FELOC in order to build, they'd have to tear that down and start anew in order for us to charge another FELOC. And then finally, could we adopt a FELOC and not adopt a utility? And the answer to that question, I'm hesitant to say, is actually yes. However, the FELOC program by definition is providing funding for us to construct a prescribed series of stormwater infrastructure that is by definition high demand and high maintenance. So if we did a FELOC without a supporting utility, we would be constructing some of the more expensive kind of infrastructure to have to maintain and have no revenue dedicated for that continuing maintenance. So I hope that answers all of your all's questions. But in short, we think we've addressed the needs of the community. We've designed a stormwater utility that will generate enough income for us to begin to address the needs of our community right now, the needs that we're going to come into over the course of the next 5, 10 to 15 years. It's adjustable. We think we've met the need for various income levels. And just like Dr. Campbell was mentioning with regard to the ERU on the commercial side, it's based on demand. As it's not ad valorem, it is simply based on the size of your property, which is completely equated to how much runoff you have. It gives us that opportunity to make sure that everyone is kind of paying their fair share. And my final thought is, I think the number one takeaway for us from the February and the April storms are that for over a century, this community has depended upon our naturally occurring cave systems to handle our stormwater runoff volumes. They're full. We cannot continue to rely on our cave systems. We will continue to see smaller and smaller storms overwhelm our capacity to drain them effectively. So, in closing, it is our request that you all allow us to prepare a draft ordinance that prepares a stormwater utility and present that for your approval at the next available commission meeting. Matt, thank you.
Commissioners, we can discuss this openly. Here's some things that I have come to conclusion. One, this is our third session. The first session we had, we had a lot of questions. And I had a lot of questions, and I didn't really understand FELOC. I didn't understand ERUs, and I understood tax. And so I heard the big word, and it was something that, you know, we all of us took an opportunity to put on some hard hats and go underneath the streets. And we've also just gone through a natural disaster, the second one that we've signed into place that we've asked the governor and FEMA to actually come to our community. First one being the tornadoes, and the second one being the flooding. And that's not the first flood that has hit. And what's interesting about this previous flood is that we've had high water marks before that were higher, but we had flooding that actually, I don't know if I state this correct, we had flooding that went in places that didn't flood and places where it did flood didn't flood. I don't know if I said that, but
Sir, that's correct.
You know, Long Road off Matlock Road always floods. It didn't flood the same, but I could say Fred Lively did, and we had flooding that continued to back up into new areas across our county, and we had more sinkholes in this flooding than we've had in the previous. What my real conundrum is if we do this or if we don't do this, are we liable? And we are liable as a city. You know, our city is not sovereign. The county government's a little bit different than us. You know, we have 42 square miles that we maintain, and we take care of public roads and parks and recreation, and we do phenomenal. However, we're a city about 100 and, you know, well, we're a city of about 75,000 that live here. We have a county that has 145,000 that live here. We're going to grow to the size of 233,000 by the year 2050. That's double the size of our city adding to our population. And then we have over 300,000 people that come here daily to work, play, shop, utilize our city from our surrounding counties, and come through the I-65 corridor, which we know has about 25 million cars that travel up and down that highway a year. This is a critical point where we are making big decisions. We've come from a small city. The heart of Bowling Green still remains hometown. However, we're making decisions as though we're the third largest city in the state of Kentucky. And we have the economic success of that. We are the #1 economy in the nation for under 200,000, 2 years running. We've been hugely successful. We're turning companies from the north, companies from the south are wanting to relocate here. But as we've learned, impervious surfaces, every time we build a new roof, every time we build a new road, there's a new way of running off. And of course, as we have learned, not one storm is like the past storm. But what we do understand is there are more storms coming, and there are going to be days where they're going to look to this commission and said, you had a chance. Just like I think you stated earlier, Carlos, there was a time that we looked at this, but we passed. We have a lot of issues. This is one of them. Affordable housing is one of them. Mental health is another one. We have, the ability to take care of we don't want homeless in our community, but we have to come up with solutions to be able to help everybody. But this does help mitigate the future of a city that's growing as size as we are. And second, this has been requested by our developers. Our developers have come to a critical point where it's almost difficult to build affordable housing. This puts the onus of the stormwater on the city, which is a big responsibility. It's a huge responsibility, and that goes back to the professionals that we have running our city. We have professional police chief, fire chief, public works director, we have engineers, we have professional parks, professional recreation, and neighborhood and community services. Each one of our directors comes to us and says, here's what we think is the way forward. And we actually asked for some options on this. And I think those options were well researched. And I think coming down to the ERU, to the FELOC, I think those are things that if we don't decide today, they're going to come back and bite this community, whether we're sitting at this table or not. But these are the decisions that we have to make, and we have to lead the community with us. We had a storm, and we're going to go into a closed session in a minute and talk about properties that we may need to acquire, and we have acquired properties that had to have mitigation because they were not livable anymore. And so these are big decisions, and for this, it's taken me a while. I wasn't there immediately, but I've come to the conclusion that I would like for our Public Works team to bring this ordinance to us for decision. That's what I would like to state, and I'll turn it over to you two.
A couple of follow-up questions. Thank you so much for, again, just kind of laying everything out for us in our community. At our last meeting, we had citizens of Bowling Green come and talk about how these last storms impacted their homes, their pursuit of the American dream, thinking they bought, a beautiful home in a neighborhood and that they would get to have a quality of life there. And now, even though they don't live in a flood zone, they've had major issues replacing furnaces, replacing AC, tearing out their basements and their homes, all these costs when they don't even qualify for flooding insurance. And FEMA it hasn't been declared for that assistance either. So how does this utility fee respond to those citizens' requests for us to do something to ensure that when you buy a home in Bowling Green, you know that this is a good investment and you're going to not have to worry about things like this in the future. How are these two things connected? What will this allow us to do for our citizens?
So your question kind of hits 100% in my heart. Mr. Alcott mentioned, our first disaster being the tornado in 21. We've actually had 4 declared disasters since 2021, 2 windstorms, and then now this flooding. And it's been my role to participate and help connect those homeowners and those folks to those resources that are out there. And it is life-altering work to to be called to take the things that you've worked on in a textbook and stuff that you've talked about in terms of scholastically or an exercise, or to look at a hydrology diagram, or to look at the major flood from Missouri and say, hypothetically, this is what happens. It's a very different thing to be tasked with runoff for a community and watch that system fail, and watch it fail real people in real time, and put them in front of some of the hardest decisions that they're ever going to make. My heart is absolutely with helping these folks as much as I can within the bounds of the law and within the confines of the programs that we write with you all. But you can be assured that I've seen enough that I will personally do everything that I can to help this community be as prepared as it possibly can be moving forward.
So is there an example you can give me of the type of project we can do with these funds that would, help a neighborhood like the one at Russellville Road?
Yes, thank you for making a more technical question. we can bring me back to balance. When it comes to those sorts of things, it's all about, like Dr. Campbell was mentioning, flood walls. If you go with flood walls, then you've got to have something on the inside of that flood wall to move the water back to the outside. It's not enough simply to have a barricade, that you're just creating a divide, and that will fill up through the soil on both sides of the flood wall. So what you're doing is one of the things that people ask us all the time, can you come and pump? Can you help us save our home? We can't, because we don't have anywhere to pump to. That water's just going to move in a circle for us. If you have a flood wall and you have an active pump, you can kind of fight that battle. You can kind of keep things going. So there's a series of things that need to be done to be as protective of those folks as possible. There are some basins that can be upsized. We can take a look at the topography of the area and say, if this home is at this lowest point and we're seeing this home flood in a 4.5-inch rain, if we were to double or even triple the size of a particular basin, then these 7 or 8 homes are going to be safe for another 2 inches of rain. So we can lower their risk. We can never completely eliminate it. There can always be a storm that overwhelms everything that we do. But we can absolutely take a look at those homes that are in groups of 8 or 9 or 10 or 2 or 3 and make changes, make accommodations that are as protective of them as we possibly can be. However, no matter how many of those things that we institute, there are going to be some homes that are just in spots that are just too dangerous. And that's where our cooperation with the Planning Commission and other agencies, there is the potential out there that we can dedicate other flood spaces that we have not dedicated before. Sometimes that is a financial impact to a property owner that we may want to mitigate in some way. So that we say, hey, if we're going to dedicate these areas as floodplains for the county, maybe there is some, I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but something to kind of soften that blow for those property owners. But yes, we would be dedicating additional areas to floodplains. We would be enhancing and increasing basins. We would be cleaning the existing storm sewers, upsizing those, and making them of the proper materials. Dr. Campbell's exactly right. This city is absolutely filled with corrugated metal piping because that is the cheapest construction method, and it has about a 25-year lifespan. So the things that went in, Carlos, I just happened to pick up when you probably graduated high school from a reference you made earlier. We're about the same area there. Things that went into the ground when we were sophomores in high school are done. They're worn out. So the things that are in this community that are older than that very likely have outdated stormwater infrastructure in them that's probably failing right now. So we go find those things, we repair those things, we make sure that they flow properly. Those are the things that we do to prevent the same sort of heartache that some of these families are going through right now.
So I want to make sure I'm hearing this right. So what happened to a lot of these families here in Bowling Green is preventable, and this type of funding can allow us to build the type of infrastructure we need to ensure that homes in Bowling Green either are, we know that they're, we've done all we can, or if they're in now, we know that are in flooding zones, that we'll have funds to be able to help mitigate that impact on these families so they can move to a place that
Yes, ma'am.
is livable.
So there's only one word in there that I would take umbrage with, and that is simply that it's, we cannot prevent flooding, period. There will always come a storm that will overwhelm everything that we can do. We can lower the risk of a similar size storm dramatically. So yes, we can take action so that we would see far less destruction from a storm of this size in the future.
And my last question is, in terms of our growth, where we know we're going to keep growing at a pretty rapid pace, what will this stormwater utility and FELOC do in terms of making sure, just like that neighborhood came and talked about, this is a new neighborhood and we're having these issues already, what are we going to be able to do with this FELOC and this utility fee as we grow, that if we decide, nope, we're not going to do it, we're going to pass it off on someone else, what are the different ways in terms of the way we grow and the way it could impact folks who are moving here in these new locations?
We like the word future-proofing. You heard me use that word a little bit earlier in terms of Chestnut Street. We're going to install the maximum amount of capacity that we possibly can, because that's an area of the community that's going to continue to develop. It's going to continue to place higher and higher and higher demand on that storm sewer system. So one of the things that you're doing as you're moving through and making these assessments are the areas that the storm sewer system is overwhelmed, we need to divert these flows. We need to find new places for a portion of this flow. We need to make sure that the pipes here are sized large enough to accept this flow. And that's everything that you're doing with that regard reduces the private property flooding, it reduces the street flooding, it reduces the impact of all storms. And as you continue to work through that, you find that insurance rates go down because people haven't had a claim for lots and lots of decades. You'll find that development is more attractive because they're going to see that the necessary new infrastructure is located where they want to build. Whereas right now, there's a lot of places throughout the community where you come in next to a storm sewer basin that's not maintained, that's full of trash, that's got a lot of stuff growing in it, and you can see that it floods. You can see the high water mark. Those are the kinds of things that we can ameliorate. We can take care of those things. We can make those better so that that growth is not hindered, and we continue to drive that growth.
One more question, Mayor, to Matt.
Make it a sappy question. I can't handle that.
No,
again.
this, in your professional opinion, and Nick and the professor, doctor, all due respect, would you say Bowling Green has over-relied on the CARS system for our stormwater drainage removal? And are we at a point in 2025 where we can no longer rely on that CARS system to take care of our drainage? When you look at 1980 Bowling Green, 1990 Bowling Green, we're looking at 2025 Bowling Green, and you look at 2050 Bowling Green, in your professional opinion, have we over-relied on that karst, and are we at a point now that we can no longer count on that karst system to take away and carry out our excess stormwater effectively and efficiently?
Yes.
And as a follow-up question, as one of the solutions, as Commissioner Bailey, Beasley Brown and Commissioner Bailey were asking, are we going to have to pivot to the Maricopa County type systems where we might have to intercept some water and pipe it directly to the river or a creek and bypass some things and bypass Whiskey Run? Is that the kind of solutions we're looking at?
Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, separating flows, we'll have to
the
find more
concrete
places.
ditches, I guess, for lack of a better term, that some cities have that we've never had to have because we have the CARS system. It's just going into the ground.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we do not have a near-surface storm sewer system that is connected across the city, and we are going to have to build one.
Do other cities have that?
Yes, almost every other city has that.
So why, so we don't, what do we have?
Never needed it. We've never needed it until now.
We've just leaned into the caves. You know, if you go all the way back to 1921, there was a Popular Mechanics article. It said Bowling Green's million-year-old sewer system. From the very beginning, and initially both for sewer and for stormwater, we relied on those cave systems to take away the water that we didn't want. And there are so many of us here now, and we have done so much, we have accomplished so much growth that that cave system can no longer hold all of our runoff.
So is it possible to build a near surface stormwater system now after we've built all this up?
It is.
Okay.
It is an iterative process. You're like we said, we found those next 25 most critical needs. You're going to create connectivity between those points. Some of the folks that were in here in that last meeting, we've kind of identified some ways that we can lower their risk of encountering these kinds of things again. So you'll see those come back from the Stormwater Utilities Capital Improvement Program. Those are going to be infrastructure investments, and we're going to say, we're going to build this pipe from this point to this point so that these homes are better protected from flooding for this purpose. You're going to see those kinds of things come from the utility immediately, right away.
And then instead of future growth and when we build in the future, if we now know we can no longer rely on our cave system, is that part of also what we have to do alongside of this utility fee is talk about the new near surface stormwater we need to build?
Right, we'd be talking about changing our standards so that what we build for the future meets that new standard that we're going to need. There are going to be places, and we've already made those changes. Over the last 3, 4, 5 years, we've made a lot of changes in the way that you're allowed to install an injection well and how you test an injection well to prove that it can work. There's going to continue to be changes. Injection wells are connections between the cave system and the surface. There are going to be changes to the way that those things are used. Those other agencies, the Planning Commission, we're already having meetings about how is it that we're going to accomplish this. The one thing we're missing is funding. For those things that are going to cost money, and a lot of money, how do we accomplish those things to better protect this community? The utility is the answer to that.
And do you all feel with the proposal you have with the $4 utility fee and the $2, half of that, $2 for multifamily, and then the fees on top of that and commercial based on ERUs, do you feel like you're going to have the funding to really, make an impact, to make it a significant positive impact on those neighborhoods that are really feeling the lack of infrastructure right now?
Yes, absolutely. And then over time, we're going to be able to tell you, yes, this utility is generating plenty of funds and we're not going to have any issues, or we can come back and say, hey, look, we think we're going to be able to generate enough funds for the first 10 to 15 years, but we'll be continually looking to the future with that funding. And as we're able to complete those needs assessments throughout the community, identify where that corrugated metal pipe is so that we can start to get it slated for replacement, we're going to be able to start forecasting our costs a heck of a lot more accurately than we can now. So this is us choosing the best funding method and then choosing a funding rate that is below the state average so that we can generate enough funds to get ourselves started, to look throughout the community, see what it is that we need to accomplish, begin to accomplish the worst of the worst. Then 4 or 5 years in, we'll be forecasting and changing those utility rates with your all's approval based on what those forecasts show.
But their utility rate could go up then, I guess, after 4 or 5
Without
years.
city commission approval.
My last question, I know we're talking about the FELOC, but with the development we have, thank you, for educating me, and thank Nick, because I spoke with him last week, for educating me on so many things, and Andy came in there, towards the end, so I appreciate you guys. But let's say if you have, I guess, a developer, and we have right now, the land's not developed, will the fee for those developers be more if it changes the character of that area so much that it actually creates issues of flooding down the stream or wherever else when initially it was not an issue? Because we know that's happened in the past.
It's going to be pretty true of every property, is that they're going to have some downstream impact. You're right, there can be degrees of severity for that. But no, at least not initially. The FELOC would be the same for any property owner. Their stormwater quantity requirements on site, their basin requirements will be pretty much the same. The standards, details of exactly how that basin is shaped are going to change over the next few years. There's going to be, for instance, restrictions on how deep they can be in the Russellville Road corridor, because we know that beyond a certain depth, there is no storage capacity because the groundwater's already there. But no, those folks are going to see the same fees no matter whom they are across the community. And then, of course, the only way that they'll have a difference in fees is if they have more ERUs on a particular parcel than someone else. You're welcome.
So do I have commissioners' agreement to go ahead and have Public Works put together ordinance for FELOC and ERU?
I would like to hear from the other commissioners after they have a chance to see this presentation.
I do know that Ms. Hill asked me to express her support for everything that we've discussed. I did meet with her one-on-one when she knew that she wasn't going to be able to be here. That's not a proxy vote by any means, but she did express her support for everything that we described.
Commissioner Perigin.
She discussed with me today that she was in favor of moving forward. So are you ready?
For them to send.
So you were asking, so
Well,
I have 3 in favor.
He had mentioned that we want to make sure we have experts helping to craft it. Are we using some of those folks he talked about to draft it?
Yes, ma'am. Of course, like I said, we brought Dr. Campbell. He's a nationwide expert. Nick and I are both CFMs. We're members of the ASPM that he talked about, so we're reasonably accomplished. But we do have power engineers already under a contract with us. They're going to be able to throw some support behind that. We have GPD Group that's out there that we're going to be able to talk to. NV5 is going to set up the billing. They're the statewide contractor that already collects all of the aerial imagery. So they'll set up those impervious cover models for us so that we can get more accurate information for exactly how that will work. We've already got pricing. So yes, we will definitely not design this in the dark. We will work with the right folks to make sure that what we bring you all is competent.
Bailey, what do you think?
We're going to put it on the thing. I think that, I think about health and stuff, and then whatever we put into our bodies and stuff and everything else, and we don't, you either pay it now or you pay it later. That's pretty much what I'm saying. You go to the gym, you don't eat healthy, and you go get the cheap stuff right now, and you don't do anything.
I know I've been taking it easy for a while, but come on.
So I apologize, man. But if we don't do it later, that's why we got elected. This may be like a hard vote, but it's also an easy vote. We're talking about 2050 and what we're going to have in 2050. And if we don't do anything, then 2050 ain't going to look like anything that we've seen in the news. So at this time, I think that we're voting on the best interest of Bowling Green. That may cost me my seat, but at the end of the day, I have to look out what's the best interest of Bowling Green. I may or may not be here in 2050, but I pray that my children are. And I pray that Bowling Green's still here. And I pray that we are looking out for the best interest of Bowling Green so the issues that we have today is not the issues that we face tomorrow.
Still be raining in 2050.
I pray that happens as well.
Thanks. Anything else, Dana?
No, I think Commissioner Bailey, that was perfect. I agree wholeheartedly.
Ready for them to bring something forward to us?
We'll prepare a draft ordinance and supporting documentation and work with Mr. Meisel to bring that back to you as soon as it's available.
Thank you all for taking us on this journey, and we need to continue to take the community on this journey. And so there's going to be an opportunity for public understanding, and I've grown a lot, but it's going to take some of that investment, and we appreciate this is just the beginning, just the start, and we look forward to coming up with some incredible projects and putting Bowling Green on the map for what we can do in stormwater and how we can mitigate the future for Bowling Green. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Okay, this concludes we're getting ready to go to closed session. I'm sorry. No public comments? Okay. Thank you very much. So we didn't have anyone for public comments, and we are going to go to closed session at this time. Thank you. Session. We've been in closed session Can I have a motion to add municipal order 2025-111?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Dana Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Carlos Bailey.
Roll call. Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Okay, the motion's been added. Now I will read municipal order number 2025-111.
Municipal order approving the termination of Jackson Miller in the Police Department.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Dana Beasley Brown, second by Carlos Bailey. We've already read it. Is there any discussion? There's none. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. All right, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.